sir.
Yes, go.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order Tuesday, November 13th, Twinsburg Government Center Council Chambers. It is 8:08. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Please rise and join us for the invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Ms. McFerrin.
Father, we ask for guidance and direction in all city matters before us tonight. We give thanks to be able to be together. Let us continue to strive to make our community a better place. Help us work together, and may we give our best always. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have approval of the minutes from October 23rd, 2018. Are there any changes or comments? Okay, the minutes will stand as written. We have no awards or presentations. All right. Any audience participation?
Yes. Sheila Williams?
Good evening, everyone. I have some reports, and then I have a community comment. Kent State had the Twinsburg meeting, 2 weeks ago? And it was very nice. There were so many people from our community with Kent State now, because they've split off into two to try to work on the construction of the new high school in Geauga, and the people in Geauga being very focused in on that. And then the Twinsburg members being focused in on Twinsburg. We're out of space. We're trying to figure that out. There was some discussion about President Warren and what's going to happen come January. The mayor was present. Laura from the library was there. Megan from the chamber. So we have a really nice group, and it's very diversified with men to women. We have a doctor that's been on the board with Kent State Geauga probably over 20 years, and he asked to come to be with us, which I thought was real interesting. And so we're moving forward with that, and so I wanted to make sure that I said it was very nice, and I think you had a good time. Mm-hmm. And it's very informative. So may we continue to move forward. Our numbers look good. We can always look better. But with Warren leaving, I would assume by January, February, they're going to probably name someone earlier. I just don't see her staying until June, July. I may be wrong, but, we'll see. So we'll have to stand by and wait for that. Summit County Public Health got a grant for $1.2 million for the opioids. We'll be doing counseling, referrals, registering, follow-up. The money is really coming to help us with follow-up. And we're going to go through the needle program of needle exchange to try to get more people on board and into treatment programs. So that was a big thing for us to close out the end of the year with. I don't know if I made you all aware that our Graham facility was for sale, the Summit County Public Health facility that used to be on Graham Road. It is up for sale by the Red Lobster. There's quite a few buildings in that immediate area that are up for sale, so they're trying to sell them all as an investment, the realtor who's handling it. So I'll keep you posted when we do get that sold, because it's, we were thinking that they were going to, the 911 call center was going to be there. That was the original thought for Northern Summit County, but they ran into a couple of snags. So that's where we are with that. And then I'm going to speak as a community person, just sitting here listening for the last 10 minutes. It concerned me as a resident, a taxpayer. I heard money increases, I heard deficits, I heard some concerns financially, and I'm going to say that. If I'm sitting here listening to it, my question becomes, when the audience looking at it at home, when I heard Corlett talk, I heard about 3 to 4 jobs possibly coming on board. That concerns me when we have spent a lot of money in 2018, and you alluded to that. And so I'm saying, as a resident, can we look? Can we double check? Can we triple check? I heard what Mr. Fury said, that he had some opposition. My concern is, as my taxes went up, and it wasn't from the city of Twinsburg, so I'm going to do that disclaimer, but my taxes did go up almost $700 for the year because of the new the new houses across the street from me. The condos in my neighborhood are not selling, showing that reflection. You have a lot of people in the community that are retired, close to retirement, on fixed incomes. This is a wonderful community. I don't want to see us start having disgruntled residents. And it's very easily to do and to start that. I'm going to give a shout out to the golf course, that it is a nice place to go have lunch. I hope that the residents really support it because it supports us. It is our facility. Unlike going to other restaurants in the city, this is owned by us, so all of us patronizing it does help us. I hope that the banquet hall is so successful that we're the talk of Northeastern Ohio, for what we do with food, how we handle it, all the presentation, the whole bells and whistles. I say all that to say we have spent a lot of money for something that the community should support at this point. And as we're looking at making some of these increases, that's on the other side. That this is something that's here that we all know how it goes, whether it's set or not, that fitness centers, I hear you, fitness centers and rec centers, they don't make that much money. Golf courses, we've been paying for years unofficially to our golf course. So I want it all to be successful. But as a resident, what I heard earlier concerned me, and I would be remiss if I did not say that. Thanks much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other? Okay, then we'll move on to council communications and committee reports. Mr. Fury?
Thank you. October 30th, the CIC met. We discussed the lane properties that the CIC has purchased over the last year. The demos have been completed. The sinks and doors and what could be salvaged was donated to Habitat for Humanity. And those will be made green spaces until at some point in the future there's any development opportunities there. We're still working with companies on a downtown redevelopment, and there looks to be some movement there in the upcoming months. The next meeting for the CIC will be December 11th, 5:30 in the jury room. Had an opportunity on Friday, November 2nd to attend the planning and zoning workshops held by the APA of Ohio. I was with the mayor and Mr. Steele and Mr. Finch were there as well. And an annual event that is for special needs individuals and their families. It's our friends with special needs for all ages and faiths, and their families are invited to a Christmas party, which is held Saturday, December 1st at Masnick Hall in Solon, Ohio. It's from 1 to 3. It's for, again, anybody with special needs or families that have special needs children. If you call 440-248-1350, they will give you all the details. They'd like you to register. It's open to all denominations, and it grows every year. So that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steele?
Okay. ARB met on the 1st of the month. We approved a detached garage and 3 sign variances for Adara Road. Also, in conjunction with the ARB, I met with Mr. Finch and several members of the ARB, and we walked through the house at 91 Post the other day. We had a good discussion about trying to salvage as much of the old one-room schoolhouse out of there as we could. We also, I got a good idea of which part of that house is the old one-room schoolhouse. And I'll be honest, I've been in worse shaped houses in the interior than that house. It's not the greatest, but it was an eye-opener to go through there.
Mr. Fury brought up the planning and the planning workshop, and one of the seminars I went to for an hour and a half was all about the 5G small cell towers that are going up and going to be going up. There's one right across the street from here over on the other curb. And it was a little alarming because the people that put on the presentation said that it could be one of those towers every 300 feet. We originally, I think, when we talked about the one that was going in here, they were talking 800 feet. The other thing that was alarming to me was each different cell carrier could come in and put up their own cell tower. So we could have 5 or 6 in one given location on the streets. And the other thing that was for our residential neighborhoods, which you guys, Greg, yours is underground, Scott, yours is underground, mine's underground. We would have to figure out how to get them, basically got told, we gotta let them in. Now, there's technology that's developing about those things. One of the guys said they thought that there was they're working on a transmitter or something to go underneath the sewer, metal sewer plate, okay, which would be cool, but that's still years away. But one of the things they did say in that seminar was that we do have the ability to control aesthetics. So we can, rather than have the R2D2 thing that's across the street, we can work with the company to put in so we can kind of hide them. Like in our neighborhoods where it's underground, we could be looking at them and saying, listen, we want something that looks like our street light poles, because they're the only things we have above ground. And they gave several examples of different cities around the states, around the U.S. that have done that. Now, the one thing that they said, in order to do that, is we as a council, as a city, have to pass something before they start coming in. And I thought, if I remember rightly, it was before the first of this coming year. Mr. Maestros, do you know?
Could certainly look into that. I haven't heard that there's any mandatory duty to get it done by the first of the year. I mean,
Well, maybe
you have it on the books prior to them submitting an application. I think.
Yeah, maybe you're right on that one, but it would be, to me, I'd like to see us get something done before we even start getting applications, because once we get it, I don't think we can enforce. It would be tough to make them design something to go in the city. That was it. The other thing that I went to was their sign seminar. That was interesting to me. We still need to, in my opinion, we still need to work on our sign ordinance and get it updated, or we can have a lot of problems with that. Basically, what they said was you can control size of signs, but you can't control the content. Earlier this evening, before the council meeting, we did have a safety committee meeting. I was there. I will let the chairman, Mr. Barr, report on that, and that's all for me at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scafidi.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals met on October 24th. We had appeal number 13, 2018, and actually that night the application was withdrawn, and seeing as there was no other business, the meeting was adjourned. So that's it for BZA. The next Finance Committee meeting, we're going to be holding a Finance Committee workshop meeting, and that'll be held next Tuesday, the 20th of November at 5 o'clock here at City Hall. And sole purpose will be to go over the budget as presented to us. So we'll be meeting that evening. Finally, we had a meeting on October 30th, and council went over the rules of council as well as the standards of council. So at this time, I think everybody's got a copy and a good handle on them. They've seen any updates. So I would like to make a motion that we pass the rules of council as updated on the 30th and as well as amended this evening, and also the standards of council. Is there a second? Mr. Fury, second.
Yes.
Anybody have any discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That ends my report.
Okay, my committees have not met, so I'm going to pass it off to Ms. McFerrin.
I was at the CIC meeting on October 30th that Mr. Fury already spoke on, and my Parks and Recs committee will be on November 29th at 6:30 here. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Bellin?
Good evening. I attended this evening's safety committee meeting. I was also lucky enough last week to participate in the Dodge Career Day at the middle school. The students were engaged. They asked outstanding questions, not only about city council, but just in general about how our Twinsburg government works. So it was a really good experience. I attended Truck or Treat, where despite the terrible weather, it was like raining and 40 degrees. There was still a great turnout. I wanted to thank the staff at the fitness center and the police, fire, and service folks who came out and made that a great event for the kids. The next Golf Advisory Board meeting and the last one for this year will be Monday, November 26th, 6:30 p.m. right here in Council Chambers. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
Thank you. I'll start out with the fact that I also was fortunate enough to speak to some fourth grade classes at Dodge, and my presentation was much better than Mr. Bellin's because the fire department was kind enough to give me hats to pass out to all of my students. So thank you, gentlemen in the back, for that.
I had no bling. You're
Yeah,
right.
I did. I had some city swag to hand out at Career Day, but is a real testament to our schools and our teachers. The kids were just terrific. They asked great questions. I echo Mr. Bellin's sentiments. They were really engaged and very involved, and I was proud to participate in that. We had a safety committee meeting earlier this evening here in Council Chambers. Some of the items for discussion involved crosswalks, particularly allowing pedestrian traffic to travel safely between, let's call it the center of town and the southern corridor underneath the I-480 overpass. As of right now, there really isn't a lot of room for pedestrian traffic. The city engineer indicated that at a point in time in the future when we were to have ODOT readdress that bridge, there would be a widening, and we could possibly look at it at that time. We also discussed golf carts and underspeed vehicles being operated legally, and passing some legislation to allow us to do that in residential neighborhoods. So that's still an ongoing discussion. The city engineer brought to the fact that most of our traffic signals on our State Route 91 corridor are approaching 20 years old. And this is in light of a traffic study that she is doing at State Route 91 in Old Mill. But again, I think this goes back to echo the sentiment of all of these things have a finite lifespan, and I think she was just trying to make us aware that this is something we're going to have to look forward to and look at opportunities to finance going forward, as those items aren't going to be in need of replacement. The next meeting for the Safety Committee is not until March of 2019, more specifically March 12th. It'll be in Council Chambers at 6 p.m. The Environmental Commission meetings, next meeting is not until February 5th. It'll be at 7 o'clock here in Council Chambers. And our next Finance Committee meeting is, our next regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting is going to be before the next council session, 27th at 5:30 here in Chambers. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor?
Good evening, everyone.
Today.
A lot's been going on and coming up here in Twinsburg. A couple things that I've been able to attend. First was I was able to attend the Court of Honor ceremony for David Stoffer. You know, we have, I think we counted, that's right, Maureen, we'll cover it. And so, you know, in Twinsburg, Maureen and I kind of counted over the last 3 years that I've been as mayor. I think I've been able to attend, I think, 14 of these Eagle Scout ceremonies. And it says a lot about young men in our community, but also says a lot about Twinsburg. So, you know, it's not easy. I mean, it's a significant amount of time and effort that these young men have to put into attaining this achievement, and it's always an honor to get invited to them. But I just want to congratulate David for that. He's chosen not to come in front of council, so he had his moment at his court of honor ceremony.
He did?
He did.
Wow.
Trunk or Treat was, again, it's just such a great event here in town. The weather didn't really hold up too well, so our poor guys out there, fire, police, service, were hanging out in the rain outside, but the kids still enjoy it. As long as there's candy and balloons, they have a great time. I did attend also the APA Planning Conference. It's something I look forward to every year. Gives us update on a lot of zoning, planning issues that are going on in different communities, both from economic development side and from specific issues like Mr. Steele talked about. This past weekend we had our turkey trot, so I just want to thank Chris and his crew. The weather was a little dicey, but he made the path, Hickory Trail, and Center Valley safe for the runners. I think we had about 100 turn out for that, so it was another good event. Coming up, we've got Luminosity, which will be November 24th. Again, this is where we light up City Hall and close up Ravenna Road and march down to the square and then light up the square. So if you've not been to that event, I encourage you to come out. We get a couple thousand people, and it's a great way to kick off the holidays. A few days prior to that, November 21st, we have Louis Legos, which we did this last year. We handed out wands that were numbered, and kids that donated toys kind of got into a raffle to be able to flip the switch here at City Hall. So it was a great way to get kids involved in serving and donating toys, and this year they're looking for Legos, and there'll be 2 drop-off points, one at Ryan King State Farm Agency between 12 and 1, and then the Reminderville Athletic Center between 2 and 3. So, Winter Wonderland is December 2nd from 1 to 4. That'll be at the Fitness Center. And then we have our Hanukkah celebration, which is Light the Night, December 5th. That'll be up at the community center behind the pool. And then lastly, December 8th, Breakfast with Santa. I still think there's tickets available for that, but again, they sell out quick, so I encourage you to get those. And then that is all I have this evening. Just from a resident standpoint, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. So before we come back, but now we've got department head reports. Chief Morgan, you want to start?
Good evening, Council. During the month of October, Fire Department responded to 224 calls for service. That brings us up to 2,346 for the year, just 1% ahead of last year. So, barring any wind storms, it looks like we'll probably end up the year pretty even with last year's totals. A notable event was October 1st. We had a severe car accident on Route 91 near Marwell Boulevard in the township. Car rolled over, clipped a pole, and either threw the victim out of the car or he climbed out. We're not sure, but he had multiple trauma injuries, including lots of fractures and severe head trauma. He was transported to Cleveland Clinic Hospital in Twinsburg, where he was transferred to a helicopter and flown to Akron City Hospital. The last update I had was after several surgeries, he was still improving, but he had a long way to go. And through the course of the month, just the interesting combination of an overlapping of 7 events that included some type of overdose or intoxication, and again, overlapped with some 3 domestic violence events and 3 suicide attempts. So just kind of a rough month with regard to those type of calls. Fire prevention completed 26 inspections and also worked on 5 fire investigations during the course of the month. We had 7 hours of public education time, including our open house, which included well over 1,000 people. So it's just a big number, kind of with an asterisk. We're not sure exactly how many people were there, but we had a great turnout. We would like to thank everyone that came and joined us that evening. And we also had 138 training events through the course of the month, totaling 532 hours of training for our personnel. For points of interest, the weather warning siren test was completed on November 2nd, and all the on December 2nd. Yeah, November 2nd, and all the sirens functioned properly at that time. The fire department had ladder testing completed on all our ground ladders and also our aerial devices. That's an annual certification process. We also had pump testing completed on all 4 of our pumping apparatus, and they all passed their tests. And we are just now about to wrap up our hose testing for the season. Every year we test all of our pressure test all of the hose we have in the department, and it's a pretty work intensive event over the course of a couple of weeks. And finally, I want to announce the Santa Run for 2018 is going to be September 16th, starting at 9 a.m. If you want to participate, gifts have to be into the fire department by December 12th at 8 p.m. And we
December
want them to be
16th. You said
shoebox
September
size.
Okay, so December 16th.
December 16th.
What did I say?
You said September 16th.
I'm sorry, December.
Yeah,
That's-
December.
December 16th,
And you said gifts to you by the 12th?
by the 12th. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, Chris?
Good evening, Council. During the month of October, the Service Department again did not patch any potholes, but they did larger road repairs. Shepherd Road, there was a Cleveland Water repair that they did a large patch there. Enterprise and Creekside had some larger areas that the road was starting to fail, so they did larger scale patching on that. Also, branch chipping for the month of November concluded, and that is our last scheduled branch chipping for the year. Of course, if we have a windstorm or anything like that, we would respond to that, but we did, if that doesn't prove to be the case, then we are complete for the year. Leaf collection began on October 15th, and we've been through the city about 3.5 times. So first few trips were pretty quick, not a lot of leaves came down, but they're down now. So it's going to slow us down quite a bit. We've done almost 1,000 stops so far with that program. And again, that program runs to the end of the year or till the weather prevents that. Additionally, the crews have continued on with the tree lawn tree pruning. An additional 102 trees were pruned in the Heritage Hills area. They'll be there for a little bit more. We've pruned a total of 362 trees this year so far. So actually, they continue that program as weather permits most of the winter, which I wasn't aware that you could actually do that, but they said you can, so we'll continue to do that. And the last thing I have is the snow and ice. We actually kicked off the year. We had a small event on Saturday. We had 5 crews out, mostly ice control. We only had to go through 22 tons of salt, which is good. And as a reminder, I just wanted to remind you that we have a lot of salt on the ground right now, but we're anticipating having issues come the first of the year with getting salt. So we're going to start off conservative with the salt, try to save as much as we can. We're definitely going to keep everybody safe, but we're going to try to hold on to as much of that salt as we can. So we ask the residents, please be careful when they're out there. We will be there. We'll be doing the hills and bridges and intersections and what have you. But we'll use as much salt as we think is necessary, but we're not going to overdo it for the time being. So. And we will continue. We think we've got a couple other sources for salt, so we'll keep purchasing that salt as we can, and then see how Cargill treats us after the first of the year. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Chris. All
Alrighty.
right, Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just a quick update on a number of things. As Mr. Fury mentioned, 2573 and 2593 East Aurora Road, two properties owned by the Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation, have been raised, and thanks to the efforts of the Service Department, who, with their staff, have been very diligent in taking care of that, and the site is now clean and is seeded, and we're just, CIC is now just paying the bills. Speaking of the CIC, the next meeting of the CIC, also as Mr. Fury mentioned, will be December the 11th at 5:30. One of the things we'll be discussing that night is how we're going to deal with these vacant properties that were acquired on East Aurora Road. So, I would suggest that any of the public listening or anybody you may know who has an interest in the CIC, who wants to attend a meeting, the meetings are open to the public. The only parts that might be closed are when we start talking about acquiring properties or negotiating agreements with property owners where sensitive information is involved, and just like a council meeting, then that part of the meeting is closed. Otherwise, the meetings are open to the public, and we encourage people to attend. I had the good opportunity to attend a round table meeting sponsored by the local chamber with Eileen Shapiro, the county executive. And we talked to the executive and her staff. They have a number of enhancements to the GIS system that will provide a substantial amount of information that we can use here in Twinsburg to help us in our daily activities and also in our coming update to the comprehensive plan. The last comprehensive plan update was done in 2014. We try to do it every 5 years, so next year we can anticipate starting on an update of that comprehensive plan. So the information the county is providing can be very helpful to that effort, and we thank the county executive for providing that service, and we're planning to meet with them to investigate how we can work more closely. We have submitted a grant through the NOPEC's Energized Communities program to update the lighting at the fitness center. That will be, the fitness center lighting project has been approved by NOPEC, so we'll see some effort there prior to the end of the year to get all the fitness center lighting upgraded to LED. We also submitted a grant on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department to Summit County Department of Development under their Community Development Block Grant Program. The Community Development Block Grant Program provides funding for a variety of infrastructure or other improvements, that particularly that benefit identified populations like seniors or handicapped individuals or special needs groups or low and moderate income individuals and families. What we had submitted for was for the paving of the sidewalks on the senior side of the community center. If you've been up there, you'll see that those sidewalks have been deteriorated, the joints are all failing, and the cost to replace those sidewalks is about $25,000. Through the grant, we hope to get half of that, or about $12,500. The application has been submitted. We'll probably won't know the results of the competition until probably roughly 2 months out. As had been previously mentioned, the ARB visited 9842 Darrow Road to examine the condition of the property in anticipation of it receiving a certificate of appropriateness for demolition. I think everybody who saw it agreed that not much of the original structure is there, and we'll be anticipating that the ARB will provide us some guidance in terms of the portions of the building they wish to have recycled. And as we've been talking about, perhaps a trailhead in that location or some other location in the city, the foundation stones and the timbers from the old school structure itself could be utilized in that new facility. Working with one of the local industries to get a new rail siding off the existing Norfolk Southern line. There are a couple of hangups with this, and that it has to come through an adjacent property owner's property, so we have to look at easements there. We also have to look at easements on an adjacent property to get access to where they want to have access on the local industry's location. So I'll keep you abreast of that as it moves forward, and we hope to get that concluded and to the advantage of the local business. And just one other announcement, Marilyn Freed, who is an employee in the building department, has been with us for many years, will be retiring the end of the month. Marilyn's been a rock-solid part of the building department for many years, and if you have the opportunity to wish her a happy retirement, I strongly encourage you to do so. We really appreciate Marilyn's service to the community and her time as an employee in the building department. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
That is it? Besides Sarah.
What about Russ?
Russ,
Russ?
were you reporting tonight or the second meeting?
Tonight.
Come on. Sorry, had you down for the second meeting. Sorry.
Thought the yellow shirt would give it away. Good evening. To get started, the issue with the Spring Ridge grading, right now, we are not taking any action, the city is not. But I do understand there is a letter to Pulte Homes from Mrs. Stone, so we're just kind of sitting on hold before we take any more actions. So just going to see how that plays out right now. So that's going to happen from the city time. Moreland Drive, the cul-de-sac, we took care of the
Thank you.
vacant lot. As you said in my email, I'm a little concerned because of the delinquent taxes on it. So when it comes to next spring, we'll discuss some type of problem or problem solving to keep that monitored.
I appreciate it. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. The Twinsburg Plaza and Sarah Plaza, just got an email today from the property manager. They have put a sign, no dumping, in the back. I will go out there and confirm that. And since the fascia area right around the tenant space rush hour hasn't been fixed yet, it's not hazardous, but they're going to like to wait till springtime to do it because it's just not going to be a good time to do such work right now. But they are going to work on getting it done.
Wait, what's wrong with it? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
What's wrong with the?
The fascia?
Is
Oh,
first,
okay.
The fascia on the
Okay,
plaza.
sorry.
And from the construction aspect here, we did 101 plan reviews, applications submitted to my office, which gave us about 195 inspections. And we did 13 point of sales for the month of October. And I do want to let you know the O'Reilly site, which is under construction right now, is going down to the Board of Building Standards requesting a variance on a code item, which is, since the contents of this facility is going to be high pile combustible storage, there has to be fire access doors every 100 linear feet on all four sides. They have 3 of the 4 sides to meet that code. They cannot do it with using overhead doors. That's what they choose not to. So they need to go down and get a variance regards to some leniency of that variance request. So, but they are proceeding with construction. And that's all I have.
Two questions. Will you soon be able to give us a report on the number of cards that Dennis distributes to properties that are in need of maintenance? I'd like to at least know how many he's put out there.
When you're saying cards, are we talking
The
the
door
hangers?
hangers.
All right.
As far as I know, him and the mayor had a conversation.
And I as well.
And that
And-
program's gonna start up again.
We are going to look into that. We're going to have more of an inter-office discussion door hangers.
Okay.
Might be a little policy change there, but we will do that, and I will get a report in regards to that when it comes out.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the other
I do
thing
wanna
is.
know- Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
In regards to the double pole syndrome,
Yeah.
Apparently, Dennis is going to cooperate and do a tally of where they're all located. Edison somehow in their database do not keep track very well. Just to advise anybody that Edison determines that they need to be replaced. They notify the other participants on the pole when it's done. So however long it's for the participants to remove their wire to put on a new pole is their control, but then once it is done, they're supposed to let Edison know to remove it. So that's a slow process.
But from my experience, okay, and I'm sure from yours, and in talking to Dennis from his, you know, once Edison does notify the other utilities that are on there, that's all that happens. It's one notification goes out, and then it goes by the wayside. So it's truly up to us to pursue that, because it's a blight to our city and an annoyance to our residents. So I think that Dennis being in that position is the perfect candidate to do that and to be the annoyance to them, to these other utilities, being the phone company and the cable company, to get their utilities off of those poles so they can be removed. And you know, it's a process. Like I said, from my experience, it's a difficult one. I know it, but it can be done. It's just it takes diligence on the city's part, because once the illuminating company or Edison's out of the picture, they're done. They'll never contact anybody again. So, and it'll just go by the wayside, which just seems to be what happened here in the city. So I would really like to see that pursued. The last thing, Russ, is I don't know if you remember, we had an issue or concern on West Idlewood with cars being parked there. And I appreciate you getting back to me that the cars were plated and they had current plates on them. However, I got back to you again that they had carpets under these vehicles that had not moved in these driveways. And it's been oil soaked and stinks, and I don't know if it stinks now. This was back in, I think, September or August that you and I started this. But then you were going to send a notification to that resident, and I just wondered if there was any follow-up to remove those rugs or those carpets.
Well, I did show you a picture that they did get moved.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
So,
I missed it.
the way the property maintenance is, if the car is licensed and the tires are full of air, they can sit there for 6 months. There's really nothing, as
Right.
long as they're on an approved surface, not much I can do about it.
And I understood that part. I was just
Okay.
hoping we could get the carpets removed.
All right.
So, okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Sarah?
So finance will be rolling out 2 upgrades this month, one to our accounting system and one to our payroll system. We've been working pretty hard on those, so we're excited to get those in place. Our interest earnings through October are at $165,000. It's an increase of 17% over last year when we were at around 140, so we're still up on interest earnings, which is good. We've filled our vacant payroll accountant position. So we have Lisa in our office now. Feel free to stop and say hi after tomorrow payroll day. We think she's going to be a great addition, and I want to say thank you so much to Jennifer, my assistant finance director, and Brenda, the executive assistant. They did a great job keeping up when we were short-staffed. Don't know what I'd do without them. And finance also participated in Career Day. We had the kids do a capital budget. Mr. Bellin's son was on one of my councils, so he was like, "You need 2 at-larges. You need 2 at-larges." I was like, "Got it, buddy." So it was a good time. They had some fun things that they could have chosen, but they went with fixing a bumpy road because council gets complaints every day, and buying a police car, and computers for City Hall were their top 3. But they could have chosen pool slides and playgrounds, so they did a good job. Yeah, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
They also could have chosen the wastewater treatment plant to produce the smell of Skittles instead of what it currently does.
Yeah.
Was that one of their-
Surprised they didn't.
It was a
go for that one.
high-price
This was
item.
the Dodge school they're at. so.
Can you do that, Chris?
Talking to you about that.
All right.
What about that, Chris?
Yeah.
That's all we have.
That's all we have, okay. Then we will go ahead and move on to legislation. First, we have ordinance 101, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018.
Okay, this is the third and final reading, so I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 101, 2018. Is there a second?
A second.
They made the motion, it was seconded by Mr. Fury. This is to pay for the summer camp busing.
It's $28,000.
$43,000?
28.
28, we had to add it, but the pricing came in at 43, right? We still made a profit. Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ordinance 101, 2018 passes by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 102, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018.
This is a third and final reading, so I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 102, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion, it was seconded by Mr. Fury. This is to pay fourth quarter expenses for the police communication and service. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ordinance 102, 2018 passes by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 105, 2018.
An ordinance accepting the final subdivision plat and R5 site plan for Whispering Woods subdivision Phase 3 as presented and reviewed by the Planning Commission.
Okay, that's the second reading. Moving on to ordinance 108, 2018. Oh, we're going to pass over 108, 2018. So we're going to go on to ordinance 109, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend this appropriation to $120,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion, it was seconded by Mr. Scafidi. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes?
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Amendment passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on amended ordinance 109, 2018, place it on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Ms. McFerrin. This again is needed for expenses for the fitness center and golf. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 109 passes, I'm sorry, emergency passes a 7-0 vote. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 109, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Barr. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Ordinance 109, 2018 passes by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 110, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018 and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 110, 2018, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Steele. This is for the building department for of around $4,800. It's an emergency because the vendors need to be paid by year end. Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 110, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Steele. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ordinance 110, 2018 passes by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have ordinance 111, 2018.
An ordinance establishing salaries, wages, and employment descriptions for certain employees of the city and updating classifications of employees to be known as a salary ordinance.
Okay, that's the first reading. Finally, we have Resolution 112, 2018.
A resolution authorizing payment of salary for employees deployed to outside jurisdictions during state and federal emergencies when such salaries are reimbursed to the city and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 112, 2018 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Ms. McFerrin. It's an emergency because of the reimbursement is coming from South Carolina. Anyone have a
Correct.
concern? Thank you. Okay, I made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Fury, or Ms. McFerrin. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
That's the emergency.
Now, the emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 112, 2018. Is there a second?
Yes. A second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Any discussion?
There is no cost to the city for this reimbursement.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Resolution 112, 2018 passes by a 7-0 vote. That's the end of our legislation. Next, we will move on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous. Mr. Barr.
I just have one quick item. I was contacted by Seth Roden earlier this week, and he asked me to give a shout out to the Twinsburg Orchestra Boosters. They're hosting a fundraiser this Saturday, November 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Twinsburg High School. Bubble soccer. Apparently one encases himself in an inflatable bubble and tries to play soccer, hopefully with less than 12 men on the field. Games start every 30 minutes. If you'd like more information, you could probably reach out to Mr. Roden, or you could visit the website bit.ly/Tberg bubble. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. I have a couple quick things. I promise I'll be quick. First, I want to thank the Service Department for working with ODOT to address the blinking light at Meadowood and 91. I do appreciate it. I know the residents appreciate it. As you know, Sunday was Veterans Day. I'd like to offer my sincere thanks and appreciation to all of our vets out there for their service. I also want to thank the Twinsburg residents who went out to vote on November 6th. Special thanks as well to those that volunteered at the polling locations. By all accounts, voting was smooth and it was a very easy process. Finally, I would like to, Mr. Barr made mention of the 12 on the field. I'd like to congratulate the Twinsburg varsity girls soccer team on an amazing season. They made it to the state Final Four. And also to senior Ryan Adkins, who placed second in the state at cross country and made it to the to the national cross country meet, which will be held on December 1st in Portland, Oregon. So good luck to Ryan. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin.
Well, Mr. Bellin stole everything I was going to
I'm
say.
sorry.
So I'll just say happy Thanksgiving to everyone and safe travels.
Thank you. I do have a few things. I need to make a motion here that City Council does not oppose the liquor permit for Gurniak Enterprises LL DBA Best Stop located on Ravenna Road, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
I'll second.
Thank you. I made the motion. Mr. Fury seconded. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to change our December meeting dates. So with that, if everyone could take a look at their schedule, we're going to move them to, days, or the motion is to move them to December 4th and to Sam's birthday on December 11th. So I'd like
I'll
to make a
second.
motion.
Don't we already have
Motion, it was
11th?
seconded by Mr. Fury. Pardon me?
We had, 11th is the regular date.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You're
So you're
moving the
just,
Christmas date into the first week, so we're.
Oh, so we're just moving the
We're crunching the
month.
first 2
Yeah.
weeks of the month so that nobody has to show up here for Christmas.
Yeah.
okay. That's good, because I had plans.
We're doing it just for you.
Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, and the next item, I'd like to make a motion to schedule a work session for council for updates and discussion on the banquet facility and the restaurant for November, before our next council meeting at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure if that's something I'd like to try to take care of.
27th?
That would be before our next council, yeah, the 27th.
Well, don't we have finance?
We don't have finance, the finance is on the 20th.
Do.
Am I doing that correctly?
I think you just scheduled a finance meeting.
Yeah, there's a finance meeting.
We did the
Finance-
finance
We did the
meeting
finance
next
and-
Tuesday. This is 2 weeks from
Well,
now.
but the regularly scheduled one would be that day unless we do without it.
We also have a public hearing that night.
And we have a
Um,
public hearing. Okay.
What time?
6:45 is the public hearing, 6 o'clock is finance.
We could
Regular finance.
do regular finance on the 20th.
All on the
but
20th, so we could do away with the
if-
one on the 27th.
If you're okay with that.
So you'd have till 6:45.
That seems reasonable. If we start at 5.
It's fine with me.
Is that soon enough?
Well, I'm not sure of people's availability.
Oh, yeah, because
Sooner
next week
than
is the
that.
Halloween
Okay.
holiday.
Does
So
that
you want to
work?
do it before finance on the 27th?
We're not going to have
We're not
finance
gonna
on the
have finance.
27th.
Okay.
When is finance?
And
gonna be done?
pub-
Finance on the 20th at 5?
Right.
What you guys
Yes.
said?
Right.
Michelle will not be here.
That was the
You will be in
budget.
Disney.
The public hearing starts at 6:45, so this work session would begin at 5.
On the
I
27th.
think that's enough time.
I'll be late, but I can't be here at 5 o'clock. I could be here 20 after.
Okay, so I made a motion. Does anybody want to second that motion then? Or do
I'll
we-
second your motion.
Okay.
This is
So we're
So,
going.
in front of the council
27th.
meeting on the 27th.
Yes, at 5
Cool.
o'clock.
I'm good with that.
And then we'll move the- Do we need to make a motion to move the finance meeting?
no.
No,
We'll just do
we'll
that.
just cancel.
So just to confirm, council work session on the 27th, 5 PM for Clubhouse.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Mr.
Mr.
Fury
Fury,
did.
second.
Thank you.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. And then the last thing, I have a couple of things I'd like to say, and one of them had to do with the service department, Dennis Sidlowski in particular. He helped us out over at Dodge. There was a stone that he was able to get for us for a student who passed away last year, and he got the stone from a location in the city, and we're putting together a rock memorial garden. And I just want to thank our service department, because there's never a time when they are not more than willing to help us out. And they came and set it all up, and I'm just very grateful for that. And I know that our school is as well. And at the career day, those of you that came, thank you so much, because you really, the students come and talk to me about it all the time. So I want to thank all of you for your time and, let you know how grateful we are. And finally, I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you. I just want to, we called a meeting next Tuesday, a finance meeting, to go over the budget. And if you would pass it along to all department heads, are welcome to be there if they'd like to. So if you could pass that out to them, they're welcome to be there. And so if you guys could pass that along, that'd be great. And other than that, I just want to wish everybody a happy and blessed Thanksgiving next week. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steele.
First, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. This is a personal note for me. The last 3 weeks has been pretty bad for my family. 3 weeks ago, my sister-in-law died unexpectedly. 4 days after we found that out, my aunt died in England. So the last council meeting, I was over in England for a funeral. And this rather garish tie that I'm wearing has the Welsh dragon on it and the Prince of Wales feathers. And I will always wear this to remember my aunt. That's it. Thank you.
So sorry for your losses.
Sorry for your loss.
Mr. Fury.
Thank you. Earlier this evening, we had a resident, Mrs. Williams, voice her concerns over city spending. And I think that there are council people that are concerned with city spending as well. And there's been a lot of attention to the new golf course and the new clubhouse. That clubhouse replaced a building that was pieced together over 35 years, that had one working toilet that was just not repairable and not functional. The city's going to take the construction investment that we put and bond it in a way over many years so that it's not general fund money that was taken. We're not using general fund money to build that clubhouse. In fact, that's the first building the city's done since we built the second fire station 12 years ago. But the goal and the process that we're working with the mayor and the administration is to refine some of the operations internally with the restaurant and the banquet facility as well as the cart rental and the golf course to have a revenue stream that pays off that debt, separate then from the general fund. That being said, we've had increased a body count throughout the city since we reduced our taxes 5 years ago. And at the same time, employees, which are our major cost because we're a service entity, have gone up. In the past, we looked for efficiencies and worked with past administrations to come with those. Mayor Dave Maestros was involved with this when we were first asking and justifying the reason for a tax increase. And I'm not asking for a tax increase, I'm justifying one. In the past, we've done performance audits regarding to our finance department, which resulted in us outsourcing our income tax collections to make it much more efficient in Rita, and we're getting a much more efficient collection than we did. In fact, at the point that we outsourced that from the performance audit information, we had found that we had about $700,000 of missing tax money. Now we have Rita that does for that. The performance audits recommended that we combined our service departments because we were running two independent service departments from the Park and Rec and our service department now. Over the time, we adopted that into function, and Chris Campbell's group runs as one entity now. So again, we get those efficiencies of having a single point of control, and the mayor has done things where he's combined janitorial and maintenance services throughout the city. We used to have multiple garages. We've combined that. All this, most of this came from performance audits we had, so that other people could tell us ways that we could be more efficient, lower costs, and get better efficiency, so our costs didn't rise as much. So I've asked the finance director over the last few days to reach out to the state as well as third parties and get us information on what it would cost to do performance audits on the 3 departments that we haven't done in the past, which would be the fire department, the police department, and the fitness center / swimming area. I don't know what I'd like to see what it costs and what the benefits could be have an outside entity look at where we're at and things that we may be able to do more efficiently, or come up with ideas that other people have implemented to lower costs, or slow the growth of our costs. And I will tell you that it's the intent, I believe the intent of this council and the administration, to do our best to make our new entity as profitable as possible, but also still maintain a sharp and vigilant eye on our city's expenses to the benefit of all of our residents. That's all I have. Thank you.
When would you think we'll be seeing some of those estimates?
First of the year.
First of the year?
Yeah, I'll start working on it this month.
Do you happen to recall what it cost the last time?
We had 6 departments that cost $53,000.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, or did we get to everyone for miscellaneous? Anybody else have anything here before we shut this down? Okay. All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss matters pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121-22G14, personnel and negotiations. We will reconvene and report on executive session after it's over.
Are you going to second?
I'll second it.
Everybody seconds it.
Okay.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Safidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Burr?
Yes.